Hello and welcome to What's Next. We're back with the Indy NXT Oval Series live from Japan. Hope you're ready for some ramen with a side of egg. We're at Twin Ring Motegi here for round number 1 of the inaugural season of 2026. Not the inaugural season period, but the first season of 2026 here on iRacing season number 1. Ready to kick off another great season of Indy NXT Oval Series action from Japan. The only left-hand turning oval found on the iRacing simulator is here. Of course, hosting IndyCar, believed until the early 2010s. Then, of course, essentially this track has gone unused since due to, as claimed, earthquake damage through, I believe, the Fukushima earthquake in 2011 or 2012 or something to that effect, if I do recall. Drivers are getting ready to tackle qualifying now. Get timing and scoring up here momentarily as we work our way through the session. We're going to head out with the number 3 machine of Chris Fletcher. Get his vehicle on the screen. There he is. Ride outboard with him on the first lap, and then we'll hop on board with him as we head on to lap number 2. Chris is piloting our number 3 machine here tonight, the all-orange IL-15. We'll get a closer shot of his machine if we can find one here. A bit closer down the backstretch there. I believe that's a plain orange scheme for Mr. Fletcher. That appears to be the case. He's got a bit of detailing on there, but he'll navigate off into turns 3 and 4. Of course, turns 3 and 4, tighter than 1 and 2 here at Motegi, kind of similar to Worldwide Technology Raceway or Gateway, as we saw earlier in the night with the INDYCAR Oval Series. They took place at the track just outside of St. Louis in Madison, Illinois. Runner-up in the Indy NXT Road Series points has taken to the pole position as it stands. Jarrett Corey making an appearance on the ovals here, I believe, for the first time here on P1. Good to see Jarrett opted for some left-hand turns. Vote of Shane Coker chiming in. He's a fan of the egg. Close up at the top of the scoring pylon. Not a ton of time. Fletcher's going to take provisional pole now with that second lap. Corey back to the top. It's going to be a bit of back and forth here as we work our way through. As I believe Andy Kirkwood is going to take to the track. We'll hop on board with the champion from last season. Of course, India driver for Votive Racing here. He'll pilot the number 4. This red car, he'll take to the track. Get ready to hop on out, lay down his qualifying lap. He was a really good qualifier last season. We'll see if he can do the same here tonight from Motegi. Of course, this track very distinct in that it's much more banked than Gateway, as we were kind of alluding to earlier. But still has that very tight turns 3 and 4. Indy going to run right up to the outside wall, try to carry a bunch of momentum on the first lap. Likely going to use that second lap as the fast one. He's going to stay nice and high. See how he navigates turns 3 and 4 as he gets ready to head on to the quick one. Here he comes through the middle to the high side, down the front straightaway for lap number 2. All the way into 6th gear, nearly 185, just over near 190 heading into turn number 1 there. Nice and low on the bottom here, trying to scrub as little speed as possible. He's going to track out to about the center of the track here, fade out towards the wall as we get closer to turns 3 and 4, and he'll head down to the inside of the course. See if this puts him at the top of the table. $30.788 that time by. Good enough for 3rd. He'll start on the inside of row number 2. Still got a little over a minute left in qualifying, as I believe Daniel the Cat DeRazzo is going to take to the track. We'll try to catch his car as he exits the pit lane here. Ride this one from the outboard once more. Caleb Brashear chiming in as the fan of the egg. We got a Taylor Thurman fan in chat. Thurman's piloting the 11 machine, currently qualified in 12th. We'll see if DeRazzo has an answer. The track rocket driver sporting a Arrow McLaren livery. He's going to go around off turns 3 and 4. Caleb Brashear is pleasantly surprised this is not a super speedway race. Gasps excitedly. That is what I've understood. I've heard you can get side-by-side 2x2 for a good portion of the lap. It's not single file on the bottom like we've seen a number of 1.5-mile tracks, and this isn't a complete surprise. We thought coming into kind of when this car rolled out that this would be one of the bigger tracks that would work in this car. It had always been kind of a borderline pick in terms of how suitable it was in Indy Pro competition. Really just depended on how much wind was blowing either direction and how much you needed to lift in turns 3 and 4. But we've got ourselves a grid of, I believe, will be 18 Dallara IL-15s ready to take to the track here tonight. So, we'll actually go off the timing tower here. Not sure what's going on with the grid sheet, but we've got Dylan Wylazinski on the pole. Common sight here in Indy NXT competition. Jarrett Corey will line up beside him. The runner-up in the Indy NXT Road Series will be on the front row here tonight. Third place, Indy Kirkwood, series champion from last season in Indy NXT Oval competition. He'll line up beside Track Rockets' Treston Fortson in the 4th spot. Chris Fletcher will line up 5th alongside Kevin A. Smith in 6th. John Corwin, common sight here on Indy NXT Oval Series broadcasts here on P1. He'll line up 7th. Richard McMillian, he'll be 8th, just ahead of Gary Yost III. Alongside Matt Glenn, another commonplace sighting here in Indy NXT competition. Ryan A. Brown will line up 11th alongside Taylor Thurman in the 12th spot. Scott Ross making an appearance here in Indy NXT Oval competition will line up 13th alongside Indy's father, Clay, in the 14th spot. Kevin Crotty will be 15th. Alan Chimera will be in 16th. Jason Goodman will be 17th. Winner of the debut Strength of Field race, Crash Neon from Iowa. Well, he won at Iowa. He might not be from there, but he'll line up 18th. And Daniel Durazo, not taking time, will be last here tonight of our 19-car field, and we'll get ready to go. One pace lap here around Motegi. Get the grid music out of here before I forget. Everybody's ready for egg. Motegi is one of my personal favorite ovals here on the sim. One of the few I've actually won on. Despite having won at many a track here on iRacing, I'm not particularly strong, particularly on the bigger ovals, so I will note that accomplishment as one of mine. We're going to get heading off of turn number 4 here. Head down towards the front stretch. Pace car's off. Wylazinski gets control of the field. We'll see who gets the good launch here. He will, alongside, it looks like Corey on the outside got a solid launch. We'll see if he can clear Kirkenbauer heading through turns 1 and 2 here. Hop back a bit further to that battle for the 2nd spot. They'll head down the back straightaway here. Cars 3, maybe even 4 wide, deeper in the field. MOTEGI, chimes Sammy. Yes, MOTEGI indeed. Drivers working 2x2 through 3 and 4. Close contact as Corey looks to try to work back by Kirkenbauer for the 2nd spot. Wylazinski has got about half-second lead here. See if drivers can start to reel him back in as they organize. Getting raring to go here for another 30-some-odd laps. Drivers jockeying deeper in the field for position. We're going to hop up a bit higher in the sky, see if maybe we can get some sights and sounds a bit further up in the air, see more of what the action's got in store for us here tonight. Head down the front straightaway. Looks like we might have a bit of contact towards the back here. I believe that's going to be Ryan Brown in the wall towards the back. We're going to hop back towards the front here as Kevin A. Smith looks to enter the picture with Kirkenbauer and Corey. They're going to hold steady on the bottom 2 steps of the podium. Corey's going to look to the inside here, heading to turns 3 and 4. driver of the 18 machine. He's going to get challenged by Smith in the 4th spot. We got a car on the wall. That's going to be Tristan Fortson. I believe he might have got some help there. We'll take a look at it. He's already in the pit lane, but we're going to try to get a shot of what happened there. So we're heading off turns 3 and 4 here. There's a Taco Bell machine that'll be of Matt Glenn on the inside. Tristan gets up in the wall, seemingly all on his own, and hits the wall once more. Not sure if he got loose there. We'll watch it back one more time, just get an idea of what maybe happened to the driver of the 8 machine. So he comes through 3 and 4 here, nice and high, probably just clocks the outside wall, and car gets unstable. As we've kind of heard so far this week, is that this car does not want to turn right on the setup here provided by iRacing. So that'll be night done for Mr. Fortson from Motegi. Most unfortunate indeed for the track rocket driver. Back to the front of the field. We've got Dylan Wylozinski leading. Indy Kirkenbauer's in second. Very common duo at the front of the field here in Indy NXT competition on the ovals. Jarrett Corey still holds steady at the bottom step of the podium as it stands. Let's see if he's able to hold on to a solid finish here tonight. Then you've got Kevin Smith, Chris Fletcher, Matt Glenn, Richard McMillan, Gary Yost, Clay Kirkenbauer, and John Corrin rounding out the top 10. Thurman runs in 11th. Scott Ross, Kevin Crotty, Crash Neon, Daniel Durazo, Jason Goodman, Alan Kymare, Ryan A. Brown. Are the cars still moving? Fortson on the pit lane, attempting to serve a meatball flag. May re-enter. Does not seem likely. I believe he's punched out of the server. So 35 laps to go, I believe, as we cross the line. We'll be working lap number 6 here. I have to check where the pace car. Pace car is going to stay lights on. It does. So we'll have at least 2 more times around here behind the pace car. But Motegi, very much a unique track, given that it is that only left-hand turning oval here on iRacing. Of course, there are a couple others, most notably the right-hand turning one found at Knock Hill that utilizes the hairpin corner of its international layout and then descends down a little hill and back up it. Uses what many might see as part of the rallycross track, if you've driven Knock Hill on its rallycross configuration, is part of that oval. It's a very distinct track in its own right. The fastest portion of the track is actually the pit exit, just given how long the pit lane has to be, as it utilizes the front stretch pit lane commonly used for its road course configurations there at the circuit in Scotland. I believe that does it for currently available international ovals on the sim. Of course, we'd like to see many more. Maybe we get one in the Thunderdome. I believe that's the... I don't know what the actual name of that track is down in Australia, but it does have a very large oval track as part of its course configuration. Also includes an exterior road course that attaches to the oval, much like those unaware, the ones at New Hampshire and Michigan. I believe Michigan also has technically an exterior oval in some capacity, or it did at a point in time. So lights are out on the pace car. We'll subside the track history lesson and get back to the Oval Series action here tonight. This will be the conclusive coverage this week for the official side of things. I believe Formula Indy Series will be tomorrow night at 8:20 p.m. Eastern Time from Brands Hatch Indy Circuit. Gary Godson will be on the call for that, and then we'll be looping it back around to our Monday and Tuesday night coverage of the official series between IndyCar and Indy NXT next week. Of course, taking on the likes of Michigan for IndyCar Open, along with Okayama for Indy NXT Road, and then the Oval Series will be taking on, I know it's USA for the Indy NXT, but I'm not quite sure what it is for IndyCar Oval. We got a restart on our hands, ready to go here. Get back under green. We'll see if Indy has anything for Dylan on this restart here. Get Good Racing Machine common sight here near the front of the field in Indy NXT Oval Series competition. He gets ready to go. Green is out. Solid launch for him. We'll see if Indy's got anything to say in the draft here. Heads through off turn number 2. Follow the front battle of Wylazinski, Kirkwood, and Corey. Be Kevin Smith hot in tow behind them. That's going to be a 4-car breakaway, more or less, at the front of the field. Kirkwood's in the tow. See if he's able to rally a bit of momentum here. Head down towards turns 3 and 4. Get back towards a wider camera shot here. Get gaps up on the screen, see where the rest of the field's starting to stack in. Looks like Chris Fletcher's in a battle right behind Matt Glenn for 5th. Richard McMillian is right behind him in that silver car. They're going to snake down into turns 1 and 2. Kirkwood is actually making a shot towards the lead here, so we'll hop back to that. That's going to be the closest battle on track, and we're going to try to make you see it all. Wylazinski having connection issues, seemingly. We'll see if his car stays present for us or not. Kirkwood is currently listed as the leader. He's on the outside. We see Wylazinski crop back up on the inside lane there. He's going to put Jarrett Corey on the bottom here. We'll see if he can roll speed on Kirkwood for effectively second, as I'm aware. Corey will clear. That's going to allow a lot of cars behind Indy and Jarrett to come back in. Matt Glenn's going to send it in nice and deep into turns 3 and 4. He'll hang the bottom, make the pass on at least one machine. If he can clear, I believe that's Kevin Smith on the high side there. So we've got about 7 cars broken away at the front of the field, down to McMillian in 7th, who's making a battle with Kevin Smith. Smith's going to fall back to the 7th spot. We're actually getting ourselves quite a battle for seemingly the first time here on a 1.5-mile track in Indy NXT competition. This is looking like quite a feisty one. Cars aren't able to quite full-on pull away from each other here, but they've also got multiple lanes to work on both ends of the track that seem to be viable with other cars in proximity. We're going to see Matt Glenn work the bottom in 1 and 2 here. It'll be a 4-car train on the bottom. Corey's going to get hung out more or less to dry as Fletcher's going to make a move on the inside into turns 3 and 4 here. Get back up high in the sky so we can try to capture a bit more of what's going on there. There we go. So we've got Kirkwood on the outside of Wylazinski. He led that time by. Matt Glenn's on the outside of the Taco Bell machine. Jarrett Corey on the inside in that Andretti-inspired scheme. Chris Fletcher's working the bottom. That's going to be 3 cars on the bottom. You see Smith on the high side, and I believe that's a Menards, Team Menard-inspired livery. That neon yellow. Have to get a look at his scheme later on in the evening. So we've got ourselves 2 wide action, lap after lap here at Motegi. We're going to kind of Constantina together a little bit, heading through 1 and 2. We're going to work down the back straightaway. Head towards 3 and 4, still 2 abreast. Further back from the top 3 here, Glenn's worked his way up to 3rd. Big shout out to him. He's made a number of passes here so far in the opening stages. So we're getting ever closer to the halfway mark here tonight. I want to thank everybody for tuning into the Indy NXT Oval Series here on P1. Of course, this is very much near and dear to my heart, given I'm also the community manager for the series, help organize the wants and needs of drivers in this series. Very good to see that we've made a good decision with getting Motegi on the schedule. I think the drivers will be enjoying this one from the drop of the green to the drop of the checkered. Nice and close between Smith and Fletcher. A bit further back in this group near the front here. We're staying glued as Glan's going to work on the inside with Kirkenbauer at the point. You're going to see Corey stay in the picture on the bottom there as well. That's going to shuffle Wylazinski to the high side. McMillian is also up there. Wylazinski's going to work through 3 and 4. Corey's going to look to the inside of Matt Glan down the front stretch, but McMillian's going to give Glan a bit of a push through the air there. We're working lap number 18 now. Chris Fletcher fans back in chat. Good to see them back out in force, rooting on their driver. We've got a bunch more cars entering the picture now, as I believe that's Gary Yost and Clay Kirkenbauer entering the picture towards the back here. That's also Daniel the Cat in that McLaren-inspired scheme a bit further back. We're going to put the camera on Glan as we can capture a bit more of the battle ahead and behind. So Matt Glan, 4th car in line. We've strung back to single file now at the front. Wylazinski and Corey are going to look high this time. We'll see if they can get a bit of momentum heading through turns 3 and 4 here. Corey going to work that high side, stay ahead of Glan for the time being. We'll see if that stays the case down the front straightaway here. Glan's going to be on the bottom. Get the draft of those cars ahead, but he's not going to have enough for Corey just yet. We'll see if that changes heading into turns 1 and 2, and it looks like it will. He'll clear. Corey will fall back 4th in line. We've got about 10 or 11 cars in this lead pack now, and we've had passes for the lead purely on merit. No collisions or anything required here. So Andy Kirkenbauer back to the front after starting 3rd here tonight. We're working towards the midway point of this race as we're working lap 21. Got the drivers lined up pretty evenly spaced on the bottom now. Wylazinski's going to look high into 3 and 4. Will he get the momentum to make the pass for the lead here? See if he leads this lap or not. Matt Glan on the inside of Corey. Corey stays to his outside. Kirkenbauer's going to lead at the stripe just barely, I believe, over Wylazinski that time by. Smith on the back of Fletcher, very, very close. That inside line has started to gather back up. Jarrett's gotten shuffled to the outside lane. Driver's starting to work on the bottom here. We'll roll nice and steady. Head off turns number 4. Back down the front straightaway, almost 3 wide here for the 3rd spot. Glan holds the bottom, Fletcher on the outside. Smith looks low on Fletcher. They're still 2 wide. You've got Corwin and Corey working 6th and 7th, and then Yost and Durazo now 3 wide with Corey heading off into 3 and 4. Two, 3, 4 wide. The rest of the field is starting to work their way back into it. Oh, we got a car around. I hear it. I believe that's going to be the Gary Yost machine. See what happened to him. We'll get back towards the ground and see if we can get an idea of what happened to the driver of the number 16. So we're heading off into turns 1 and 2 down the front straightaway. I believe that's going to be the yellow machine we've got our eyes on here with Mr. Yost. He's in the middle. Little bit of a contact between him and the 13 machine. I believe that's Clay Kirkenbauer. He's going to just sent around. Shot to the outside wall. Back it in. And that's going to be night done for the driver of the 16, the AAIR All-American iRacers machine. Will be done for the evening. Unfortunate. Once more. But that'll put us under caution just a little over halfway here as we've got 16 laps to go in tonight's event. We want to thank Whiplash Shimcams for providing the cameras we've got here tonight. We've gotten some good shots from the air and closer to the ground here tonight. Glad to have their cameras as a part of our package here tonight. Since this caution may take a little while, we'll see if we can try to catch down that wreck once more and get a better idea, maybe from the ground, on board with Clay. Slow this up. We'll see if we can hop on board, let the fans decide. So we're heading off into turns 1 and 2. Car seems to hold relatively, at least for my eyes, seems to hold the line where it's at. Possible netcode played a factor here. If we hop out to maybe the TV camera here, we'll just rewind this ever so slightly. Maybe from the rear here, we'll see a bit better. Yeah. Maybe a lane up, maybe a lane down. We'll let everybody decide for themselves what happened there. Always tough to have close contact heading off in the corners here. Motegi also very difficult, has a very narrow groove despite how wide and banked that opening corner is. You don't want to be too wide and you don't want to be too far down on the bottom or you slide up the track on entry. Makes it very difficult to navigate the corner with multiple cars alongside each other. Tough break for Mr. Yost. So Indy Kirkwood will be your leader for the restart here. We'll be working lap 26 now, heading on to 27. Wylazinski runs in second. Kevin Smith, hop back to him, he runs third. That is indeed a Team Menard-inspired livery as far as I can tell. I believe it's potentially the Tony Stewart one, not quite sure. Admittedly, my livery history is not quite as good as others. Matt Glenn will run fourth if Wylazinski can return to the mortal plane. Chris Fletcher, he's worked his way up to fifth after starting fairly deep in this field. Shout out to him. John Corwin rolls in the sixth spot. Durazo, he's worked his way from 19th to 7th. Clay Kirkebauer, involved in that previous incident, runs in 8th. McMillian is 9th. Jarrett Corey's fallen from the front row down to 10th. We'll see if he can work his way back forward in the closing stages here. Kevin Crotty will be 11th. Taylor Thurman in 12th. Jason Goodman 13th. Ryan A. Brown in 14th. Crash Neon runs 15th. Alan Kymare in 16th. Scott Ross has made it back on the course. He came down the pit lane potentially to repair some damage. He's still on the lead lap in 17th. Gary Yost and Treston Fortson are both out of the event.
Green flag, green flag.
All right, we're green. Kirkbauer will lead. He gets the jump. We're 3 wide, just towards the back of the top 10, I believe. Jason Goodman's going to fall down the order. Not sure what happened to him. He's got a black flag, potentially for passing under the restart. We're hopping back to the front of the field now. Get back up in the air, try to catch a bit more of this action here. We'll hop back to Matt Glenn in the 4th spot. Wylazinski's actually going to make a pass for the lead here. He's got the run heading through 3 and 4. We'll see if he can hold it off the corner here. Drag race to the line. Indy's going to lead that time by. Put Kevin Smith under a blanket with these two for the lead. 3-car battle at the front. Smith holding the bottom. Getting the draft off of Indy at the front here. They're going to bunch up heading into turns 3 and 4. Wylazinski's staying high. Smith backs out of it. Wylazinski stays committed to that high lane. Comes off the corner. Bit better momentum here for Dylan. We'll see if he can lead this lap here. Not quite. He's thereabouts. I think if he can time that run just a little bit better, he can make something happen on that high side if we get to the final lap with him in that position. Smith all over the back of Wylazinski now. You've got Fletcher entering the picture in the 4th spot. John Corwin, Matt Glenn, Daniel Durazo. Clay Kirkebauer in 8th. You see Jarrett Corey just enter and leave the picture. Wylazinski has made that move on the high side. He's ahead. believe he clears, heading down the front straightaway. Change of hand for the lead here. You've got Kevin Smith on the inside of Chris Fletcher. About a 5 to 6 cars working that bottom lane at any given time, but they're migrating to the high side to work 3 and 4 here. 2 by 2 for Durazo and Corwin. Durazo's going to work that high lane, make something happen here. Jarrett Corey's going to work his way back to 8th. See him enter the picture right behind that Taco Bell machine in the 7th spot of Matt Clan. Many drivers working that high lane here. Indy's the first amongst them. He's going to start to reel in Wylazinski down the front straightaway here. Not going to have enough momentum this time to make a move. See if he can build it up the next time around here. He's going to stay high in turns 1 and 2 here. We hop back to the battle for the 5th spot. That's Chris Fletcher to the outside of Matt Glan. You've got Durazo and Corey side by side just behind them. Jarrett working the low lane here. He's staying committed. We've got 3 cars at the front. Indy's making that high lane work like Wylazinski a couple laps ago. We'll see if the drag race pans out. Kirkenbauer will take the point that time by. Hasn't cleared Dylan just yet, so he's going to have to stay high here. See if he can tuck just in between here, but Smith's going to get the run on the bottom here. That's going to leave Indy hung out to dry as it stands. Of course, Chris Fletcher now is going to join him on the outside. Maybe those 2 drivers can work the air and push Indy forward, which appears to be the case. Many cars stacked all the way back to, I believe that's going to be Crotty, Kevin Crotty in 11th. Oh, we got a car around. I hear it. That's going to be Alan Chimere in the wall. Scott Ross is stopped. We'll see what happened to Alan here. Here's my spidey sense was correct. You hear the tires squeal, and that tends to be when the cars... Ooh, big crash heading off into turns 1 and 2 here. We'll get the replay out here. So we've got Alan working the bottom here. That's the 7 machine of Scott Ross. Alan dives low on Scott. He's going to come up, make contact with the 7 machine, launch up over the front of Scott, hard into the outside wall. Scott, I believe, also has a meatball flag. I believe he nosed it into the wall. Definitely missed in the left side pod of his machine. We'll ride on board with Scott through this incident, get an idea of what he saw heading through turns 1 and 2 here. So we're heading off into 1 and 2. We'll slow this up here, see what Scott sees. He's going to come on down into the corner here. You're going to see right about here, contact is made. Scott's going to get spun around, and then it goes Allen into the air. If we ride with Allen, he bounces into that outside wall. Tough break for both drivers in the closing stages here tonight. We've got just a couple laps left in this event as we get back to Wylazinski at the point. Seems like it takes a couple laps for runs at the front to generate, and you need to kind of have the rest of the field work with you to get that outside lane to work off turns 3 and 4. Maybe just time the run at the right time. Get ready for a barn burner, because I think we're going to get ourselves one with the race we've seen tonight. Despite the cautions, this has looked relatively quality, all things considered, for the 1.5 mile Motegi. I believe it's 1.54 as listed by the iRacing simulator. Pleasant surprise for everyone, seemingly. Glad to see we'll have another good track to add to the repertoire for this series heading off into the rest of 2026. So running through your field here, I believe we're going to get another pace lap here, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, we are. So Wylazinski leads over Indy Kirkwood. Kevin Smith runs in third. Chris Fletcher, John Corwin, Jarrett Corey has made it up to sixth. Daniel Durazo is in seventh. We'll get Daniel on the screen here. Matt Glenn runs in eighth in that Taco Bell car. Richard McMillian, he's ninth. Clay Kirkenbauer rounds out the top 10. You got Kevin Crotty in 11th. Ryan Brown in 12th. Crash Neon runs 13th. Taylor Thurman still out on the track in 14th on the lead lap. Jason Goodman is one lap down following serving his black flag here tonight. And then Alan Chimera serving his meatball flag from the pit lane. His machine likely toast for the evening. Lights are out on the pace car. We're going to get up in the air for this restart as we've seen runs come from deep here tonight. Get a little closer there, at least for the initial restart. We'll back it back up as we get ready for what I believe will be a two-lap shootout here to end this race. So maybe I do just need to go all the way out. So those moves are going to have to come fast, and they're going to have to come quick if drivers are looking to make up ground here before this race ends. Here we go, off turn number 4 for what will be one of the last times here tonight. Who's going to take it home? I think if you're still in contention here, if you've got a car that's moving. Here goes Wylazinski. Not as good of a launch for Kirkenbauer. He's going to be under the attack of Kevin Smith. Move back to that battle as Wylazinski is dropping connection again. So we've got Kirkenbauer, Smith, and Fletcher here. Wylazinski has rejoined us here. 3 cars battling for the bottom 2 steps of the podium. I believe that's going to be all they're going to get, just given how far out Wylazinski is, assuming his connection holds. Kirkbauer going to hold tough on the outside on Smith. That's going to let Fletcher attack on the inside. Heading on to the final lap. We've got the white flag in the air. Barney's waving it nice and good. Looks like Wylazinski will be in control of this race. Right place, right time. Durazo's going to look on Smith for the 4th spot. Corey on the high side in 6th. Contact potentially between Smith and Durazo. Kirkbauer is going to hold on to 2nd. Fletcher 3rd. Smith. Durazo side by side with Corey. Corey's going to lose out on that. Durazo's going to lose out on that battle by 1,000th. Quite the finish there between those 2 drivers. And the rest of the top 10 down to Clay Kirkenbauer remained relatively unchanged. And we will get cars back on the screen here. So we will get the number 1 machine of Wylazinski, your winner here tonight. Not an uncommon sight in Indy NXT competition for Dylan to pick up the win. He's definitely showing his mettle, especially on these bigger ovals here throughout the first now 13 weeks of competition for the Indy NXT Oval Series as he'll start to do his burnouts. We'll run you through the results here tonight. So it will be Dylan Wylazinski with the win, 3/10 over Indy Kirkenbauer in the 2nd spot, 1-2, not an uncommon sight here in Indy NXT competition. Then you've got Chris Fletcher finishing 3rd. He made a hard charge through the field to get to where he made it to tonight. Kevin Smith in 4th. Jarrett Corey held on to a top 5 finish after starting on the front row. Daniel Durazo just barely losing out on that battle, 1,000 behind. John Corwin will finish 7th with Matt Glenn behind him. Richard McMillian will be 9th ahead of Clay Kirkenbauer in the 10th spot. We head to Kevin Crotty in 11th, Ryan A. Brown in 12th, Taylor Thurman in 13th, Crash Neon 14th, Jason Goodman in 15th, Scott Ross in 16th, Alan Chimera in 17th, Gary Yost in 18th, and Tristan Fortson rounding out the 19 car field here tonight. And we'll see who all we get in the interview room of our podium finishers here tonight. Got to track down Chris Fletcher's automobile first before we get him on up here. There's Chris. Get him on up here. Chris Fletcher, Jacob Collins, P1 Broadcasting. You got me?
Yeah, I got you, Jacob.
Well, it certainly looked like you had to work for it here tonight, starting as in the 5th spot. You made up some ground, maybe fell back a bit in the order through the opening stages, but at the end of the race, you got back up here on the podium. Kind of talk us through this one. It looked a bit different out there for one of these bigger tracks here at Indy NXT.
Yeah, for the Indy NXT Series here, the 1.5 miles have been, just kind of follow the leader. That certainly wasn't it tonight. So yeah, I was just, trying to take care of it at the beginning, and save some tire for the end, and see what I could kind of make moves at the end there. And luckily, I was able to, get by Kevin there and get here on the podium again.
Yeah, it certainly looked like it was a race of kind of managing tires, managing draft. It seemed like there was a number of different lanes you could kind of choose, given where other cars were positioned ahead and behind you. Did you feel like there was maybe a good opportunity tonight to be able to kind of push other cars with kind of the air push you get, getting close to them to make runs happen, especially on those further up lanes on the racetrack?
Yeah, it seemed like you could do some things up there, pushing the cars in front of you, or just, getting the draft. The big thing was just the bottom through 1 and 2, and towards the end of the race, if you could enter in high and be able to cut down low, that was the best for it.
Well, certainly looked like you made it work out here tonight at MOTEGI. Another podium finish here for you. Not something we've seen uncommonly here on the channel, so I'm sure you've gotten pretty well versed in the interview process. So if you got anybody you want to shout out here tonight, Chris, feel free to do so.
Yeah, thanks, Jacob. Of course, you guys for putting these things up. It's always fun to go back and watch them. My teammates, John and Dustin, Dustin wasn't able to be with us tonight on here, but he'll be back here next week or the week after. And of course, my fiance Kelly and my kids, Tess and Stormy, and my grandson Milo, always watching. So thank you.
Thank you, Chris, for joining us here each and every week here in Indy NXT competition on P1. We'll hope to catch you next week at USA International.
Thanks, Jacob. See you then.
That'll be Chris Fletcher, your third place finisher here tonight. Andy Kirkenbauer will be up next for 2nd spot. We'll get his car on the screen momentarily here. There's Indy. Andy Kirkenbauer, Jacob Collins, P1 Broadcasting. You got me?
I got you.
Well, we saw passes for the lead. You were one of them here tonight, but ultimately not able to hold on to it come the finish here tonight. Kind of talk us through your race as you navigated the unconventional 1.5 mile race here for Indy NXT.
Yeah, I think this is the greatest race in Indy NXT history. So yeah, I hope it was a great show. I mean, me and Dylan were having a heck of a battle there. We were so close, just swapping leads. I would leave for 10 laps, you would leave for 10 laps, and he got ahead of that restart, and I just screwed up the restart. I didn't expect him to go that early, which I should have been expecting. Like, I was still doing my adjustments at that point, and then he launched, and I was just didn't have enough time to react. But that's all my fault. If I would have just been able to get that restart right, we would have been able to get a better finish for this race. But still 2nd place is decent. But knowing that Dylan's going to be the biggest championship rival, it sucks to give up that place. But USA next week, I'll come back for that.
Certainly pretty hard to beat yourself up over a runner-up finish, especially given the performance you put on here tonight. Kind of talk us through what you felt like was able to help you stay up near the front. Obviously, we saw drivers kind of working high side, low side on different ends of the track, kind of changing up their attack as they progress through each run. What do you felt like was your strong suit here around Motegi tonight?
Yeah, I just like going up to the top, and because that bottom in 3 and 4, I didn't like it. And if I were in the top, I could get center rotation, and I kept trying to get to the inside of him coming off fourth. That move never worked. But and that's another thing with him snaking down the straightaway. Like literally, don't turn right. I mean, if you turn right, you're going straight into the wall. And that's one thing I love about this setup is that you can snake, but then you're sacrificing your entry for the corner because if you turn right too hard, you're dead. So yeah, it was a super fun setup. Props to whoever made this setup for making this race so good. But yeah, I mean, that was probably the most enjoyable Indy NXT race I've been in. I mean, just being side by side, having it be a pack race, but like not a Congo line was awesome. Yeah, I really hope to see this track return.
Yeah, it certainly was nice to see a change and have multiple lanes available. We saw cars as many as 3 or 4 wide at various stages through the race, so it definitely put on a good show here for everybody in the crowd, and I think everybody was very pleasantly surprised to see a 1.5-mile race like Motegi did here tonight. But another podium finish here for you, Indy. Obviously, you've gotten pretty accustomed to being up on the podium here on P1, so friends, family, sponsors, anybody you want to shout out, floor is yours.
Yeah, like shout out Fremont Functional Fitness, BG Emery, and Associates. Make Something on YouTube, The Alley and Clyde, Fort Bell Pizza Palace, Bayside Heating and Cooling, and everyone watching, thanks for putting this broadcast on. Makes the Indy NXT Series actually stay alive, so thank you for the broadcast, and then just I mean, yeah, that was a good race.
Good to see you back up here, Indy. We'll catch you next week at USA International for hopefully what'll be another great race.
Hopefully it will be. Hope for that second line to come in.
There we go. Indy, looking forward to USA International next week. He's your second place finisher here tonight. We got one more likely very happy driver in Dylan Wylazinski. His car might still be parked out on the track, so we'll just leave it parked out on the track for him. Bring him on up here. Dylan, Jacob Collins, P1 Broadcasting. You got me?
I got you. How you doing, man?
Well, another win for you here tonight. I'm not sure quite how many it is between you and Indy we've had here on P1 and Indy NXT Oval Series competition, but I'd almost be willing to bet it's split roughly 50-50, more or less. But kind of talk us through your race here tonight. You had to work for it in the middle stages to get back to the lead here tonight, but felt like it looked like a good bit of fun out there.
Yeah, it's a lot more fun than the other mile and a half tracks that we've been doing because you could actually make moves around the outside into 3 and 4. And it was hard. It was really tough. The pass I made on Indy, I was sideways from the 3/4 mark to exit, but it's doable. It was a lot of fun trying to hold them off.
Yeah, it definitely looked like you had to kind of time it and really work for it through 3 and 4 on the high side to maintain enough momentum, especially to clear cars down the front straightaway. We saw you ultimately kind of just barely eking ahead the full car, being able to clear down Indy down the front stretch with about maybe 10 or so laps to go, but that ultimately seemed to be the move. And then the subsequent restart, good launch for you. Indy said he wasn't really expecting it, so that's also another props to you. But kind of talk through what it was like having to navigate kind of the tight quarters. We saw cars, right on top of each other more or less towards those lower lanes of the track, particularly down the back stretch. Cars seem to get very, very close together. So kind of walk us through what's going through your head as you navigate the very tight field tonight.
It's mostly, please don't hit the car to my side. I'm on a single monitor, and going on that back stretch, sometimes the car on the outside would drift off to the right to better set up that corner. So that whole straightaway, I'm flicking right with my joystick here to try and see to the right and hope that I can move over and try and get a better entry as well. But it's so hard to judge it, especially because you're looking right as you're going into the corner entry. So a lot of times, especially like on the outside turning in, you're hoping the guy on the inside doesn't drift up. So you just kind of turn in, hope for a line, and hope the guy on the bottom does his line. It's a little sketchy.
Yeah, certainly very tricky to navigate that situation when you've got the car alongside you, but you don't know how just how close or how far away those are. That's why many drivers kind of attest or swear by either triples or VR to be able to see a bit more from side to side. So maybe one of these days you can get a bit of a payroll check from your success here in Indy Next competition and get yourself some extra screens. But nonetheless, another win for you here tonight, Dylan. Probably going to catch a couple more this season. But anybody you want to shout out, friends, family, sponsors, floor is yours.
I'll give a shout out to Get Good Racing. I'll give a shout out to Mackenzie Roon for making this awesome paint scheme, and I'll shout out the sprint car community. They race at 6 o'clock and 8 o'clock on Tuesday nights.
Well, there we go. Thank you, Dylan, for making it out here tonight in Indy Next. Congrats on your win.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, congrats on your win. Go celebrate and have yourself a good one.
All right, appreciate it, man. Have a good night.
That is Dylan Wylazinski, your winner from Motegi here tonight. That's going to do it for Indy Next Oval Series competition from the Japanese Egg Mobility Resort Twin Ring Motegi, whatever you want to call it. That's where we were, and we will probably be back sooner than many people think. I want to thank everybody once again for tuning in to the broadcast here of Indy Next Oval Series here on P1. We'll be back next week, same time, same channel, from the USA International Speedway, now defunct in the real world, but still alive in the iRacing simulator from Lakeland, Florida. That'll be next week for the time being. And to all those that do the difficult jobs all around the world, we want to thank you very much for doing all the things that let us have all the fun we do, like broadcasting Indy Next and IndyCar here on P1. And to all those who have tuned in tonight, have a good night, everybody. We will catch you next time.